Welcome back to This is Thailand. Tonight's story comes from a fella called Brendan, 55 years old, Dublin born and raised, scaffolder for 32 years, and the kind of big quiet man you'd want next to you in a tight spot. The kind of man who spent his whole life knowing exactly where he stands and exactly what to do when another fella squares up to him, which is part of how he ended up where he ended up. Now, most of the stories on this channel are about love gone wrong, a bar girl, a wife, a house in the village, money disappearing into Izai in one transfer at a time. This isn't that story. Or, well, there's a girl in it, of course there is. This is Thailand. But she's not what cost him. What cost Brendan was 3 minutes on Soy 6 at 2 in the morning. 3 minutes, one right hand, and a Russian fella who didn't get back up the way he was supposed to. If you've ever watched another foreigner mouth off in a Pattaya bar and thought to yourself, yeah, mate, you have no idea what's coming for you, this one's going to stick with you. Brendan came to Thailand for the same reason a lot of men do. He came to feel alive again. What he found out instead is that in Thailand, your pride is the most expensive thing in your luggage. Here's his story in his own words, right? So, where do I start? Brendan, 55, born in Cabra, raised in Phibsborough, scaffolder 32 years and counting. Or not counting anymore, I suppose. The knees finally said no last spring. You spend 3 decades climbing tubes and humping boards up the side of a tower in Manchester rain, and one morning you bend down to tie your laces and your right knee just goes, pop, and that's that. Pension kicked in at 55 on account of the trade, thanks be to God. But it's not what you'd call living money. $1,400 a month. Pays the rent on the one bed in Drumcondra and not much else. I was married, 26 years, Sinead. We met at a wedding in 1997, my cousin's, and she had a laugh on her you could hear from the next parish. I was mad about her from the first night. We never had kids. That's a whole other story, didn't happen. We stopped talking about it after a while. But we had a life. The cat and cage on Friday nights. Bows at Dallymount on Saturdays. Win, lose, or draw. Mostly lose. Fair play to them. Sunday roast at her ma's till her May passed. That was us. That was the shape of it. Then 18 months ago, she comes home from work on a Tuesday and tells me she's been seeing a fella from her office. Martin, Bloody Martin, soft-handed accountant, drove a Toyota Prius, did yoga on a Saturday morning. She'd been seeing him 8 months. 8 months, and I hadn't a clue. I'll tell you the worst of it. 6 weeks. 6 weeks from her telling me, to her suitcase being out the door, to her moving into Martin's gaff in Stillorgan. 26 years dismantled in 6 weeks, like a scaffold coming down on a Friday. I stood in the kitchen of the house we'd bought together and watched her car go up the road, and I thought to myself, well, Brendan, there you are now. She got the house. Solicitor said I could fight it. I didn't. 42 grand in my account when the dust settled, and a 1-bed flat off Botanic Road, and a Bose season ticket I couldn't bring myself to use because she used to come with me. Then comes the 1.5 years I don't really remember properly. I drank. Not the social drinking I'd done my whole life. Proper sit on your own in the flat at 3 in the afternoon drinking. I had this engagement photo on my phone from 1998. Her hair was big and mine was still there. I'd look at it and I'd put the phone down and I'd pick it up again. I tried to delete it about 40 times. Couldn't do it. Don't ask me why. The lads kept the door open for me. Fair play to them. Desi especially. Desi's a Sparks I worked with on a job in London years back. Terrible man for the drink and the women. I love him to bits. And Desi had been to Pattaya. Twice. And I tell you, you couldn't get him to shut up about it. He'd come up to the pub of a Friday, and within 20 minutes he'd be off on it again. Brendan, listen to me now. The women out there will ride the legs off you, and a pint's €2. €2, Brendan. I'd laugh him off. First 6 months I laughed him off. But you know how it is. A man tells you something 40 times, eventually you start picturing it. I started looking at flights on the bus home from town. Didn't book anything, just looked. Then one night I'm in the flat, it's a Tuesday in September, the rain's belting off the window, and I've got Desi's voice in my head, and I've got Sinead's engagement photo on the coffee table, and I've got a liter of Powers half drunk. And I think, what am I waiting for exactly? Who am I waiting for? I booked the flight that night. Aer Lingus to Heathrow, Heathrow to Bangkok, Bangkok to Pattaya. 6 weeks return. Cost me $1,500 I didn't really have to spare. I told my sister Marie the next day and she went mental. Pattaya, of all the places, Brendan, you absolute Egypt, do you know what kind of place that is? I told her I did. I didn't. Not really. I'd seen YouTube videos. I had Dexy's stories. I thought I was going to a long pub crawl with palm trees. I'll be straight with you. I wasn't going out there to find a wife. I'm not that thick. I knew the score about Pattaya, or I thought I did. I wasn't going to fall in love with a barmaid and build her a house. I had Sinead's lessons fresh in my pocket. I wanted to feel looked at again. That was it. That was the whole sum of it. 55-year-old fellow with bad knees and a half-empty flat wanted some young one to laugh at his jokes and put her hand on his arm and call him handsome, even if she didn't mean a word of it. 42 grand in the account. October flight. Big suitcase from Argos. I told the lads in the Cat and Cage I'd see them in 6 weeks and bought a round on the way out the door. The morning I left, I stood in the kitchen of that flat in Drumcondra at 5 in the morning, drinking a cup of tea, and I felt something I hadn't felt since the Tuesday she came home from work. I felt all right. I felt like maybe I was going to be all right. I'll tell you now, hand on heart, if I could go back to that fella standing in the kitchen with his cup of tea, I wouldn't tell him not to go. I wouldn't even tell him about Knock or the Russian or any of it. I'd tell him one thing only. Walk away. Whatever happens out there, walk away. But sure, he wouldn't have listened. I never did. The plane lands at Suvarnabhumi at 5:30 in the morning local time, and I haven't slept. 12 hours from Heathrow, 3 glasses of cheap red wine, a film with subtitles I couldn't be bothered reading, and a hangover starting before I'd even landed in the country I was meant to be drinking in. Welcome to Asia, Brendan, you fool. The heat hits you first. You read about it. You watch the videos. You think you're prepared. You're not. You walk out the doors of arrivals and it's like somebody's opened an oven on your face. October in Drumcondra had been a wet sort of cold, the kind that sits in your knees. October in Bangkok at 6 in the morning was like stepping into a wet jumper that somebody had been wearing all day. I stood there with my big Argos suitcase and my Aer Lingus jumper, sweat running down my back inside 2 minutes, and I thought, Jesus Christ, what have I done? I'd booked a bus to Pattaya, 2 hours, 300 and something baht, picked it up outside arrivals. I sat in the back with the window cracked open and watched Thailand slide past me. Spirit houses outside every petrol station. These little gold doll houses on poles with garlands and bottles of strawberry Fanta in front of them. Power lines going every direction like somebody dropped a plate of spaghetti. Lads on motorbikes weaving between lorries with no helmets, no shirts, kid on the front, missus on the back, dog in a basket. I had a smile on me the whole way down. None of it was what I expected. All of it was a long way from Phibsborough. The bus drops you in central Pattaya, near a place they call the Dolphin Roundabout. I got off into the heat and the noise, and a wall of fellas offering me taxis. I knew the name of my hotel, the Mike Beach Resort, 1,200 baht a night for the first 3 nights, until I figured out a longer-term spot. I shoved the address at a bot bus driver, one of those open-back blue trucks with 2 benches in it, and he nodded and pulled away before I'd even sat down properly. Suitcase between my knees, wind in my face, and Pattaya going past at 30 kilometers an hour. I remember thinking, you couldn't be sad in this place if you tried. That first night, I didn't sleep till 4 in the morning. Showered 3 times for the heat, lay on the bed with the aircon on full, then said feck it and walked down to Walking Street. Here's the thing nobody tells you proper. Walking Street is, I don't know, it's a lot. It's a lot for a lad off a Tuesday night flight from Dublin. Neon up both sides, music pumping out of every doorway, 3 different songs hitting you at once. Girls outside every bar in costumes, schoolgirls, cowboys, nurses, whatever theme the bar was running. They'd grab your hand. Hello, handsome man, where you from? Come inside, 1 drink. I'd never been called handsome that many times in my life. I'm not, particularly. I've a face like a busted boot, and I'm carrying 2 stone I shouldn't be carrying. Didn't matter. Every 20 feet, another one. Smell of grilled chicken and bin juice and Chang beer and perfume, all mixed together. Bass thumping out of the go-go bars. I walked the whole length of it twice, and I didn't even go into anywhere. Just walked. Felt like I was watching a film about another fella's life. I had 2 Leos in a beer bar by the marina at the end, and walked back to the hotel along the beach road. Got into bed at 4, slept till 1 in the afternoon. By day 3, I'd found the room. Above a bar on Soi Buakau, 15,000 baht a month, which works out to about €340. Bedroom, a bit of a kitchenette, hot water, most of the time, and a balcony with a view of 2 aircon units and a satellite dish. The fella running the guest house was a Brit, a big lad called Trev, who'd been there 9 years and had eyes like he'd seen everything twice and wasn't surprised anymore. He took the cash up front, no contract, no questions. Didn't ask for any of the paperwork I was meant to do. I should have known then, the way they tell you to register your address with immigration within 24 hours of arrival. The TM30 form. He never mentioned it. I never asked. That little detail came back to bite me later, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I settled into a rhythm fast. Up about 11, walked down for breakfast at an Irish place on Soi Buakau called Shenanigans. Full Irish breakfast for 250 baht. Read the news on my phone. Then a wander down to Soi 6 for the afternoon. Soi 6 in the afternoon is its own thing. Nobody ever explains Soi 6 to you properly, do they? It's a long, narrow street, both sides, just bars. Every door has 2 or 3 girls outside it on stools, calling at you as you pass. Welcome, welcome. Come sit. Where you from? It's quieter than Walking Street, especially before 5. You can sit at the bar with a Leo, 90 baht, and actually have a conversation with the girls without the music shaking your chest. They'd ask where I was from, and when I said Ireland, they'd go, "Oh, you too, Riverdance." And I'd say, no, the other half. Half of them had no notion what I was on about. The other half laugh anyway. Either way, it was nice. It was nice having somebody laugh at something I said. I bought the lady drinks, 150 baht a pop, half of which goes to the girl. I'd nurse a Leo and stand them 3 drinks across an afternoon. 500 baht, €11, and I'd had 2 hours of conversation with a 20-something girl who put her hand on my arm and called me Bren. I'm not proud of how good it felt, but it felt good. The expat lads were always around in the afternoons. The same 5 or 6 fellas at the same bars on the same stools, with the same Leos in front of them. There was a Geordie called Ray, must have been 65, leathery as an old wallet, lived in Pattaya 12 years. Aussie called Steve, who'd retired from the mines in Western Australia. A Yorkshireman called Pete, who never said where he was from, but had the accent thick as treacle. They took me in straight away, bought me beers, asked about home, told me their stories. They gave me advice. Most of it I half listened to. Don't trust the cheap lawyers, watch the bar bills. Don't ride a motorbike without a helmet. Don't go to the casinos in Sihanoukville on a visa run. I nodded along, filed it away. Felt very much like a fella getting his Pattaya GCSE. It was Ray who said the thing. 3rd or 4th afternoon. We were in a bar on Soi 6, late. Place was filling up, and a Russian fella down the bar started getting loud at a girl. Ray didn't even look. Just took a pull on his Leo and said, low, almost to himself. Whatever you do, son, don't fight anyone here. Just walk away, always, doesn't matter who's right. Just walk. I said something like, I'm not a fighting man, Ray. Bought him a pint. He gave me a look I couldn't read, then changed the subject. I think about that look a lot now. I really do. 2 weeks in, I drifted into a place I hadn't been before. Not even sure why I went in. It was about 3 in the afternoon, blistering heat, and I'd been walking the length of Soi 6 the way you do when you've nowhere else to be. There was a small bar about halfway down on the left, 12 stools, a pool table that looked like it had seen things. The girl out front said hello the way they all do, and I'd have walked on, only she wasn't pushy with it. Just nodded at me and went back to her phone. So I went in. Don't ask me why. Sometimes you just pick a door. The girl behind the bar looked up when I sat down, said hello in English without the sing-song. What you want, Papa? I said a Leo, and she popped the cap off and slid it over with one of those little foam cozies on it. 20 baht for the cozy, she said, dead straight, then grinned. Joke. 20 baht is fake. That was knock. She was small. They're all small, but she was small even by Thai standards. 5 foot nothing, dark for a Thai girl, hair cut short to her shoulders in a way that looked like she'd done it herself with a kitchen scissors. Not what you'd call pretty exactly. Or she was, but in a way you had to look at twice. A face that didn't smile unless something was actually funny. I liked that immediately, and I didn't even know I was liking it. She told me her name was Knock. Ask mine. I said Brendan, and she had a go at it 3 times, then settled on Bren, the way they all did. Then she asked where I was from, and I said Ireland. And instead of the U2 river dance routine, she said, Ireland, same Scotland? I said no, different country, but the same kind of weather. She laughed at that. Not a polite laugh, a proper one. So I stayed for another Leo, and another after that. She was 23, from a village outside Udon Thani, up in Isan, 600 kilometers north. She'd been in Pattaya 6 months. Before that, she'd worked in a Som Tom shop in Udon. Before that, she'd worked a noodle stall with her aunt. Before that, well, you get the picture. She had a daughter back in the village, 4 years old, called Fern. The daddy was long gone. Her ma'am had diabetes, and the medicine was 8,000 baht a month she didn't have. Her brother was 16 and clever, supposedly, and there was talk of him going to the technical college in Udon if somebody could find the fees. She didn't tell me all that the first afternoon. She told me bits of it across maybe 4 or 5 visits. I'd sit at the bar from 3 till 7, buy 2 or 3 Leos and a couple of lady drinks, and she'd talk to me between customers. Most afternoons there weren't many customers, so mostly she talked to me. I told her about Sinead. Don't ask me why I did that either. I'd not told a soul properly, not even Dexy, not the whole shape of it. I told Knock over a Leo on a Wednesday afternoon. The whole story, Martin the accountant, the 8 months I never saw, the 6 weeks to the suitcase. She listened like she was actually listening. Didn't say much. Just at the end she said, sometimes the heart go where the head tell it not to. Same Thailand. Same everywhere. And I thought to myself, well, that's a sentence. That's actually a sentence. I started coming in every day. Not nights. I'd stick to my walking street wanders for the nighttime, where the music was louder and you didn't have to think. But the afternoons were knocks. 3 till 7, soy 6, Leo and a stool and that little kitchen scissors haircut behind the bar. 3rd week, I barfined her. 600 baht plus another 150 for the drink she had to finish. She came back to the room above Trev's bar, and we were together that night, and the next morning I gave her 1,000 baht, and she took it without making any production of it. Just folded it into her purse, gave me a kiss on the cheek, and went off to start her shift at 1. I sat on that little balcony with my 2nd cup of Nescafe, and I thought, all right then, all right. Few nights later, 2nd time. She stayed till the morning again, over a bowl of jock. That's a rice porridge thing, 100 baht from a stall on the corner. She mentioned, just sort of mentioned, that her mom's blood sugar had been bad that week, and the chemist wanted 3,000 baht for the test strips and the insulin. She didn't ask. She didn't even hint exactly. She just said it like you'd say the weather was poor. I gave her 3,000 baht, folded it in half, put it on the table next to the jug. She looked at it, looked at me, and her face did something I can't quite describe. Not gratitude, not the why with the eyes down performance you get from some of them when you give them money. Something closer to embarrassment almost. She said Kob Kun Ka once, quiet, and put the money in her bag, and that was that. We didn't talk about it again. That was what got me. Anyone else, I'd have smelt it. I've sat in Pattaya bars now and watched 23-year-old girls work 55-year-old fellas like a fiddle. Full eyes up gratitude routine. The lot. Knock didn't do that. She'd take the money like it was a plumber's bill. Like it was just a thing that happened in the world. I told myself I was reading her right. She wasn't a hustler. She was just a girl from Udon with a sick mother and a daughter back home, and we'd happened to find each other in a bar. I told myself this wasn't like the stories Dexy told me about. The girls in those stories asked. They begged, they cried. They sent the photos of the buffalo with the broken leg. Nock didn't do any of that, so she must be different. I'll tell you the truth. Even now, sitting in Drumcondra with everything that came after, I'm not sure I had her wrong. I think she was probably exactly what she said she was. The ma'am was probably real. Fern was definitely real. I saw a photo. I think she liked me even. In the small way a 23-year-old likes a 55-year-old fella who'll buy her 3 drinks of an afternoon and not ask too much. I'm not telling you she was an angel. I'm telling you she wasn't a villain either. People in this story aren't going to come out as one or the other. That's the whole bloody problem. Across that 3rd week, I gave her maybe 10,000 baht in dribs and drabs. A taxi home, a school uniform for Fern, a doctor's visit, each one small enough to feel reasonable, each one 1,000 or 2,000, 240 euro across the week. I told myself, sure, that's a holiday. That's still a holiday. Ray saw her once. Came in for a Leo about 5 one afternoon, sat 2 stools down, watched Nock working for a while. Then on his way out, he stopped by my stool and just looked at me. Long look. The kind a fella gives you when he could say 100 things and is choosing not to. Then he clapped me on the shoulder and said, "Take care of yourself, Bren," and walked out. I told myself old men get sentimental. Bought another Leo. Asked Nock if she wanted a drink. She said yes. That look of Ray's. I should have asked him what it was. I think about that too. By week 6, I wasn't a tourist anymore. That's the only way to put it. I'd stopped checking the date on my phone. The Argos suitcase was open on the wardrobe with my clothes spilling out of it, half of them washed by the laundry place across the road for 40 baht a kilo. I'd stopped going to Walking Street most nights. Too loud, too young a crowd, too far from where Nock worked. The routine had narrowed and narrowed until it was 4 bars on Soi 6. A Thai place on the corner that did cow pad guy for 60 baht, and the room above Trev's. That was my Pattaya. That was the whole map of it. I was drinking too much. I'll just say it. Back in Drumcondra, I'd been a 5 pints on a Friday fella for 30 years. Out there, I was on the Leos by 12:30 in the afternoon, and not stopping till 1 or 2 in the morning. 6, 7, 8 bottles a day, plus whatever a fella stood me, plus the lady drinks. Half the time I'd wake up not remembering the last hour or 2 of the night before. I told myself it was the holiday. I told myself the heat was making me sweat it out faster. I told myself a lot of things. And Nock. By that stage, I had myself convinced we had a thing. She wasn't my girlfriend, I knew that much. I'm not entirely thick. She still worked the bar. She still took bar fines from other customers when she needed the money. I never asked, she never volunteered, and that was the deal we had without ever saying so. But 3 nights a week she was in my bed, and the other 4 she was texting me online, sending little photos of her dinner, asking how my knee was. I'd given her, let me count, 15,000 baht across 3 weeks, about 350 euro. Not nothing, not a fortune. I told myself I'd spend more than that in the cat and cage in a month back home and have nothing to show for it. Right, the night. It was a Wednesday. I remember that because Nock had said earlier she'd been hoping for a quiet shift, midweek, fewer customers. I'd gone down about 8 after the rain had stopped. There'd been a proper monsoon downpour around 5, and the streets were still steaming, that wet tarmac and drain smell hanging over everything. I had a curry at a little stall on Soi Buakaw first, green curry, 100 baht with a Leo while I was waiting, and walked down to Soi 6 at about 9:30. Already 3 pints in. Got to Nock's bar. Place was busier than usual. Maybe 10, 12 fellas in. There was a table of 3 German lads up the back, 2 old British fellas at the corner of the bar, and a couple of Indian lads playing pool. Nock was working the bar. She gave me a small nod when I came in. Small, professional, not the proper smile she did when it was just us. Should have read that for what it was. Didn't. I got onto the San Miguel's around 10. I don't even know why I switched. Only the Leos had started tasting like nothing. San Mig at 80 baht a bottle, then a tequila, then another tequila, then another San Mig. The Russian came in about 11:30. I clocked him straight off because you couldn't not. 6'3", easy, shoulders on him like a door frame, cropped hair, short beard, the kind of fella you'd put up a high-rise with on a Thursday morning and not say a word to. He had two mates with him, smaller, both in those tight black t-shirts that the Russian fellas in Pattaya all seem to own. They sat at the far end of the bar from me. Knock went down to serve them. 3 vodka tonics. The fridge-shaped one paid in a stack of red 500 baht notes from his pocket like he was tipping a paperboy. I went back to my San Mig. Wasn't watching him particularly. They were just 3 more lads in a bar. Then about 15 minutes later, he got up and moved. Came down the bar. Sat on the stool the next side over from where Knock was working. Not next to me. On the other side of her, so she was between us. He said something to her in that loud Russian English they all do. Something about how pretty she was. What's your name? Where you from? Standard stuff. I half watched it in the mirror behind the bar. Knock did her professional smile. Not the proper one. The other one. Then he put his hand on her thigh. Right up high. Right where you'd put it if it was your missus and not a girl behind a bar you'd known for 15 minutes. And here's the thing I keep coming back to. I keep playing this back. Knock didn't smile. She didn't laugh and lean into him the way bar girls do when they're working a customer. She just froze, went still. Eyes flicked sideways once, quick, like a kid checking if the teacher had seen. And she didn't move his hand. She just kept pouring out the change for the till. I know now what that was. I know it now, sitting here. She froze because the fella was bigger and richer than I was and had bought 3 vodka tonics and could buy 3 more. And her job was to not piss him off. Kreng Jai, the Thai fellas call it. You don't make a fuss. You don't lose face for the customer. You wait it out. The hand would come off the leg eventually. They always do. But that's not what I saw. I saw a fella with his hand on my woman and her not telling him to fuck off. And 30 years of building sites, Ballyman on a Tuesday morning when some lad's after stealing your hammer and you've got 2 minutes to sort it before the foreman comes round. 30 years of that came up the back of my neck like a tide. I said something, across the bar, loud. I don't remember the exact words and I won't pretend I do. Something along the lines of, "Oi, fella, get your hand off her," something like that. Maybe a bit worse. The bar went quiet, not all at once. First the lads near me, then the next ones, then the German table at the back. The music was still playing, some bouncy little Thai pop song. I remember it kept playing right through everything that came after. The Russian looked up at me slow, didn't move his hand, said in that thick voice of his, "Old man, sit, drink your beer." Old man. He called me old man. Now here's the bit I'd give a lot to be able to take back. I had time. I had a full second, maybe 2. I could feel Ray's voice in the back of my head, the look he gave me on the way out of the bar that day, the line about walking away. I could feel it there. I could. I stood up. I walked around the bar, past the corner of it, past the little fridge with the cozies on top, past the bin, and I came up on him from his blind side and I threw a right hand, full weight behind it, scaffolder's fist, 30 years of muscle in it, with 4 San Migs and 3 tequilas to give it ballast. It connected, right on the angle of the jaw. He'd half turned to see me coming, and he got it square. His head snapped sideways. He came off the stool, and on the way down he hit the back corner of the bar, the wooden lip of it where the bartenders rest their elbows, with the side of his skull. Made a sound I won't ever forget. Not loud, just wrong. He hit the floor and he didn't get up. I stood over him with my hands stinging, knuckles already split. The bar was so quiet you could hear the till motor humming. The bouncy Thai pop song was still going. Knock had both hands over her mouth and her eyes were that wide white around the edges of a person who's just realized something they can't fix. 3 minutes. From the moment he came down the bar to the moment he was on the floor. 3 minutes of my life. I'm 56 now. 61 when I'm allowed back into Thailand, if I ever am. 3 minutes. That's what it cost. The bar emptied like somebody'd pulled a plug. The Germans were gone before the Russian had stopped twitching. The pool lads, gone. The 2 old British fellas, gone. I don't blame any of them. You see a man on the floor with a head wound in a Pattaya bar. You do not stick around to give a witness statement. You finish your beer somewhere else. The Russian's two mates didn't go anywhere. They were at him on the floor in seconds, slapping his face, shouting at him in Russian. He was breathing. I could see his chest going, but he wasn't waking up. There was blood. Not loads, but enough. From a cut on his temple where he'd hit the bar. It was running into his ear and pooling on the tile. I stood there, knuckles bleeding, hand already swelling. I'm a big lad and I've thrown punches in my time, on sites, in pubs. The odd row at Dallymount when the Shamrock fans got cocky, but I'd never put a man down like that. Never seen one go that still. I had this thought, very clear, very stupid. He's going to be all right. Lads get knocked out in a fight, and they wake up, and they have a sore jaw, and they go home. He's going to wake up. He didn't wake up. The mama-san came out from the back of the bar and started shouting in Thai. At me, at the Russians, at Nok. Nok was crying by then, properly, both hands still over her mouth. Then somebody, I think one of the Russians on his phone, shouted police, police at the door. And within about 90 seconds, there were 3 Thai security lads in white shirts in the bar, then tourist police in their fluorescent vests, then 2 regular Thai police in brown. It happened fast, and I didn't have a word of Thai. None. They were talking to the Russians in English first, then to the bar staff in Thai, then to me, and I was just standing there with my hand bleeding, trying to say self-defense, and he had his hand on her, to fellas who had no interest in either of those phrases. An ambulance came, 2 Thai paramedics in green polos. They got the Russian onto a stretcher and out the door, blue lights bouncing off the wet street outside. He still hadn't moved. Then they cuffed me. Plastic ties, not metal. Hands behind my back. One of the regular police walked me out into the street, and the heat hit me again like it had at Suvarnabhumi 6 weeks before. And I remember thinking, this is it now, Brendan. This is what you've gone and done. They put me in the back of a pickup truck, open back with a bench, 2 officers up front, 1 in the back with me. We drove the length of Beach Road with the lights on. The whole way I was thinking about not crying in the bar and the sound that Russian's head had made on the wood. Couldn't get either of them out of my head. Still can't, really. The station on Soi 9, Pattaya City Police, Tourist Division on the side. I'd walked past it twice in 6 weeks and not given it a second look. Now I was being walked in through the front under fluorescent lights, with my hands tied and blood drying on my knuckles, and an officer behind me with his hand on my elbow. They sat me on a plastic chair in front of a desk, and the first 6 hours were the longest of my life. They wanted my passport. I didn't have it on me. It was in the safe in Trev's guest house. So they sent 2 officers down to get it. Then they wanted my visa stamp. I'd come in on a 30-day visa exempt and renewed it once at Yomtien Immigration for another 30 days. Fine, that bit was sorted. Then they wanted my TM30, the address registration form, the thing the landlord is meant to file within 24 hours of you taking a room. Trev had never filed it. I didn't even know what it was properly. I sat there for 10 minutes trying to explain that I lived above a bar called something I couldn't pronounce on Soi Buahau, and the officer sat opposite me, wrote slowly in his book, and did not look pleased. Then he asked for my return ticket, and I said it was on my phone, and they took my phone and looked at it and gave it back. Then he asked me, through a translator who'd been brought in from somewhere, what I'd had to drink that evening. I told him, truthfully, about 8 beers and 3 tequilas. He wrote that down too. Then the negotiation started, and that's where I really understood I was nowhere I knew anymore. It was about 2 in the morning. The Russians' 2 mates arrived at the station with another fellow who spoke better English, and Thai both, and a woman who I think was somebody's wife. They sat down at a table across the room from me with the police and the translator, and they all talked for about half an hour. I just sat, watched. My hand was throbbing. Knuckles I knew were broken because I'd broken them once before falling off a tube in Cricklewood in 2003. The translator came over. Thai woman, maybe 40, tired eyes, didn't enjoy her job. She said the Russian was in hospital. He was conscious now, but concussed. They were running scans on his head. The family, by which she meant the friends, I never met any actual family. The family was demanding 800,000 baht. for medical bills, for compensation, for, and I quote, the pain caused. 800,000 baht. I did the maths in my head with my brain not working. 800,000 baht is about 20,000 euro, half of what I had in the world. If I didn't pay, she said, the police would proceed with a criminal assault charge, likely section 295 of the Thai Criminal Code. Up to 2 years in prison, she said, very matter of fact, like she was reading the back of a cereal box. And, she added, given the issues with my address registration, immigration would be involved as well. I asked her what I was supposed to do. She shrugged, just shrugged. Said, yeah, you can pay or you can go to court. Court take long time. You stay in Thailand. No leaving. The bar owner showed up next. The mama-san from earlier, with a fella behind her, who I assume was the actual owner. They wanted 50,000 baht for damages, about 1,200 euro. Broken stool, blood on the wall, customers walked out, lost trade. The translator told me, very quietly, that if I paid the bar tonight in cash, they wouldn't add a property complaint to the criminal file. Otherwise, it's stacked. I'd put my head on the desk if my hands hadn't been zip-tied still. About 3:30 in the morning, Knox showed up. I don't know how she got in. She must have known one of the officers, or she'd told them she was my girlfriend, or something. She was still in her bar clothes, eyes red. She came over to where they had me sitting, knelt down beside the chair, took my zip-tied hands in both of hers, and just said, over and over, Bren, sorry. I asked her if she was all right. That's what I asked. Sat there in a Thai police station looking at 20 grand of demands and a criminal charge, and I asked her if she was all right. She nodded and squeezed my hands and cried. She came back at 9 in the morning with a polystyrene box of cow tom, rice soup with pork, from the stall on the corner. Fed it to me with a plastic spoon because they'd taken the cuffs off, but my right hand was the size of a melon by then. I ate it. I haven't been able to look at cow tom since. By midday, Ray was there. I don't know who phoned him. Maybe Trev. Maybe Knock had his number. Ray walked into that station in his Geordie shorts and his sandals and a Newcastle United shirt, and he looked at me and he said, Aye. Right. Let's see what we can do, son. He went to the cash point with one of the officers and my bank card and my code, and he came back with 50,000 baht in cash, in red and purple notes, and we paid the bar that afternoon. The mama-sen counted it twice, signed a piece of paper in Thai. The bar threat dropped off the pile. That was the first front of the bleeding. Ray sat with me on the bench outside the station after. The heat of the afternoon bouncing off the pavement, motorbikes going past, a monk in orange robes walking down the other side of the road with a steel begging bowl, and Ray rolled himself a cigarette and lit it and looked at me sideways. Bren, he said, you're in serious bother now, son. You know that, I knew. I'd known it from the moment that Russian fella's head met the wood. I just hadn't worked out yet how serious bother in Thailand was different from serious bother in Phibsborough. I was about to find out. The lawyer Ray put me on to was a woman called Kun Suchata. Office on 2nd Road, 2nd floor above a tailor shop, up a narrow concrete staircase that smelled of stale cigarettes. The sign on the door was in Thai with English underneath, in smaller letters. Inside, a tiny waiting room with a fan, a coffee table with old issues of Thai Tatler, and a girl on reception who didn't look up when I came in. Ray nodded at her. She nodded back. They knew each other. Suchita was maybe 45, hair pulled back tight, navy suit jacket even with the aircon on. Polite, businesslike, English better than mine. She put a glass of water in front of me, told me to sit, and listen to the whole thing without writing a word down. 3 minutes. Then she nodded once. Kun Brendan, she said, I will be honest with you. Your case is not complicated. Your case is simply expensive. She laid it out. Section 295, assault causing injury. The Russian fellow was out of hospital, but the medical report said concussion plus a hairline fracture of the skull, which moved it up the scale. With the address registration mess, with me being a tourist on a visa exempt, with 8 beers and 3 tequilas in me on the police report, court was not somewhere I wanted to go. A Thai court, she said, would not be sympathetic to a 55-year-old foreigner who'd left a younger man unconscious on a bar floor. Up to 2 years was the legal range. Realistic outcome with a guilty plea? Maybe 6 months in a Thai prison, maybe a heavy fine, maybe both. And then a deportation and a long ban. She said this all without the slightest drama in her voice, like she was telling me the bus times. The other route, she said, was settlement. The Russian fella's people had already shown they were open to it. They'd come to the station with a number, 800,000, which she said was their opening bid and not the real price. If we settled with them, they'd sign a withdrawal of complaint. The criminal case dies. The civil claim dies. Everyone shakes hands. I go home. Her fee for handling this, she said, would be 200,000 baht, about 5,000 euro. That covered, and I'm using her word, facilitation. She would not itemize. There were court fees in there, she said, and police paperwork, and several other things she gestured at vaguely with her hand. I didn't ask her to itemize. Ray made a small noise next to me, half a laugh, half a cough, and shook his head a tiny bit, as if to say, that's the price, Bren. That's the price. I paid it. Right there. Bank transfer, Suchata's office. 200,000 baht, 5 grand euro of my divorce settlement, gone, on a Tuesday afternoon above a tailor shop in Pattaya. What followed was 3 weeks I will spend the rest of my life trying not to think about. I'd given up the room above Trev's by then. Suchata had quietly suggested I move to a hotel that filed its TM30 properly, and I'd taken a room in a place called the LK Mansion off Soy LK Metro for 800 baht a night. I sat in it most days, the aircon on full, the curtains drawn, watching English Premier League reruns on a Thai sports channel, and waiting for Suchata to phone. The negotiation was not direct. The Russian fellas had their own translator, and somebody who I gathered was a sort of fixer for them, and Suchata talked to him through messengers and on the phone in Thai. The number came down, slowly. 800 became 750. 750 became 700. After about 10 days, she rang me and said, very calm, 650,000. They will not go lower. I have pushed. I rang her back the next morning and asked her to push once more. She did, and a day later she said, 600. Final. Take it, Kuhn Brendan. I took it. 600,000 baht, about 15,000 euro at the rate that week. I didn't have it in cash. Nobody has 600,000 baht in cash sitting around. So I did it from the AIB app on my phone, in 2 transfers because there was a daily limit, and I sat on the edge of the bed in the LK mansion with the aircon humming and watched my balance go down. First transfer, 350. Second transfer 2 days later, 250. The bank in Dublin phoned me on the second one because they thought it was fraud. Some young one with a Cork accent asking me, "Sir, can you confirm this transfer is authorized?" "Yes, love," I said, "it is." I didn't tell her what it was for. What was I going to say? Suchata had the document drawn up in Thai with English underneath, and I went to her office and signed it without reading the Thai bit, because what was I going to do? Ring my brother-in-law in Dublin to translate it. The Russian fella signed his copy somewhere else. The criminal case was withdrawn. The matter, she said, was now closed. "And the immigration side?" I asked. She gave me a small, tight smile. "Kuhn Brendan, this is also handled. Do not worry." I want you to remember that exact phrase. Do not worry. Now, knock. While all of this was going on, she was in and out. The first week of negotiations, she came to see me twice at the LK mansion, brought me food, sat on the bed with me and watched the football. I gave her another 4,000 baht the first visit and 3,000 the second, just because she was there and because she'd held my hand in the police station, and that mattered to me. We didn't talk about the Russian. We didn't talk about much. She'd cry a bit, then go quiet, then go. After about 10 days, she went quiet online. Read receipts but no replies, then nothing at all. I rang Ray and he said he'd ask around. 2 days later, he came to the hotel with 2 cans of San Mig in the news. She'd left the bar on Soy 6, moved to a different bar on Soy LK Metro, just round the corner from where I was staying, in fact. He'd seen her there himself, working the front stool. "Bren," he said, opening his can. "She's a young one with no money and a kid in Udon. The fella she was with had a thing going for 6 weeks. and now he's a fella in a hotel room emptying his bank account into a Thai lawyer's office. Don't make it more than it is, son. She's just keeping her head above water. He was right. I knew he was right. I sat with that for a few days. I never went looking for her on Soy LK. I thought about it more than once. Walked past the bar one evening, on my way to a 7-Eleven for a toasted sandwich, and saw the back of her head in the lights, and kept walking. I didn't want to put her in the position. And I'll be honest now, sat here a year on, I didn't want to find out, on top of everything else, whether she'd be glad to see me or not. Some things you're better off not knowing the answer to. That was one of them. I'm still not sure what any of it was. I think she liked me a bit, in the way a young one likes an old fellow who's kind to her. I think she was also a girl from Udon, with a sick mother and Fern back home, and the mass of her life never had any room for sentiment. Both things at the same time. I was due to fly out the following Tuesday. Ray came with me to Suvarnabhumi in a cab. 3-hour drive at 5 in the morning, with the sun coming up pink over the rice paddies on the motorway and a Thai pop song on the driver's radio. I had €19,000 left in my account. My big Argo suitcase with most of the same clothes I'd brought, and a copy of the settlement document folded in a plastic wallet in case I ever needed to prove anything. At immigration, the officer took my passport, scanned it, frowned, looked at his screen, typed something, frowned again, got up off his stool and walked over to a supervisor at the end of the booth, both of them looking at the screen, came back, picked up his stamp, stamped my passport with a black square that I didn't quite see what it said, and handed it back without making eye contact. I was on the plane before I looked. Inside cover, black box, Thai script, English underneath. Banned from re-entry, 5 years. Suchata had not handled the immigration side. Suchata had taken her 200,000 baht and made the criminal case go away, and the immigration side had been on a different desk in a different office with a different officer who had not been spoken to. I sat on that Aer Lingus flight from Heathrow to Dublin and looked out the window at the cloud below, and I thought, well, Brendan, well, you absolute Egypt, there you are now, €23,000, 5 years banned, February in Drumcondra, the worst hangover of my life. It's a year on now, just over. I'm in the same one-bed flat off Botanic Road, same kettle, same kitchen table, same Bose poster on the wall in the hall that I never took down. The only thing different is there's a dog now, a scruffy little wire-haired terrier from the rescue place in Drumcondra, called Birdie. My sister Mairead bullied me into it about 3 months after I got back. She said, Brendan, you need a reason to leave the flat in the morning that isn't a pub. She wasn't wrong. Birdie gets me out for 2 walks a day along the Tolka and back past the cemetery, and I can tell you that walking a small terrier in the rain at 6:30 in the morning will sober a man up faster than any priest ever could. The engagement photo of Sinead is gone off the phone. Deleted it the night I landed in Dublin, on the bus from the airport, in the rain, looking out at the spire. Just hit delete, and that was that, after 18 months of trying. Don't ask me why I could do it then and not before. Maybe because I'd already lost something bigger by then. Hard to mope over a wedding photo when there's 23 grand of your divorce settlement sitting in a Thai lawyer's bank account. I drink less. I'll not pretend I'm dry, I'm not that fella. But I had a long sit-down with myself in February when I got back, and I worked out what I'd been doing. 8 beers a day in Pattaya, and I knew I couldn't keep that up in Drumcondra and have a life. So now it's 3 pints and Fagans of a Friday with the lads, maybe a Saturday afternoon at Dallymount if the weather's not desperate. That's it. The lads don't ask much about Thailand. Desi did, the first night I was back. I told him the basics. He went quiet, very un-Desi of him, and bought the rest of the round himself. The money. Let me give you the maths plain. I went out with €42,000. I came back with 19, so €23,000 went near enough. Flights in the room above Trev's, and the food, and Knock and the Leos, and the lady drinks all came to 2 grand near enough. 21 grand of it went to the bar, the lawyer, and the Russian. About 6 months of building work I'd never done. Half of what was supposed to see me through the rest of my life. I've worked out with the pension that I can scrape by on what's left if I don't do anything stupid. I'm 56. I'll be 61 when the ban runs out. I'm not going back, even if it's lifted. I know that the way you know the weather coming in off the Irish Sea, the harder bits aren't on a bank statement. I'll tell you straight, the hardest thing isn't the money. The hardest thing is sitting here at 56 and knowing that I'm the kind of fellow who, with 4 sand migs and 3 tequilas and a smart mouth in front of him, will throw the dig instead of walk away. I always thought I was better than that. 32 years on building sites, never on a charge, never lost a job over a row, the steadiest hand on the crew. Turns out all that meant was nobody had ever pushed the right button at the right time. Pattaya found the button on a wet Wednesday at 11:30 and pressed it, and I went off like a lamp. And knock. I don't know what to do with knock, even now. I don't think she set me up. I genuinely don't. But I also know that 23-year-old girls from Udon don't go through 6 months in a Pattaya beer bar without working out how to look after themselves. And when the money started going somewhere else, she did the sensible thing. She moved on. I don't blame her. Some nights, after a couple of pints, I take out my phone and look at the line conversation we had, those little dinner photos of hers, and I don't know what I feel. I miss her a bit. I'm angry at myself a bit. I hope Fern's all right. Both things. 3 things. All of it at once. I've stopped trying to sort it out. Here's what I tell anyone who'll buy me a pint at Fagan's bar. In Thailand, the other fella's punch costs him a headache. Yours costs you everything you own. You're not in Phibsborough, you're not in Newcastle, you're not in Brisbane, you're not in Cleveland. You're in a country where you don't speak the language and don't know the rules, and the rules are not what you think they are. The police aren't on your side. They're on the side of getting the paperwork done and getting everybody out of their station. The lawyer is not on your side. The lawyer is on the side of the lawyer. The bar is not on your side. The bar wants you back tomorrow night, but the bar wants its broken stools paid for first. And the girl is probably not on your side, and that's not her fault. That's the mass of her life, and you'd do the same in her shoes. There is no fight in a Thai bar that is worth winning. None. I don't care if some lad calls your mother, calls your country, puts his hand on the woman you've been buying lady drinks for. I don't care. Walk out the door, down the street, into a 7-Eleven, get yourself a toasted ham and cheese for 50 baht, and sit on the curb till your blood comes down. Whatever it costs you in pride, it's a fraction of what one connecting punch will cost you in cash, in liberty, and in the rest of your life. That's it. That's the whole sermon. I'd carve it on a board and hang it in the arrivals hall at Suvarnabhumi if they'd let me. I'm not bitter at Thailand. Honest to God, I'm not. The country was good to me, in its way. The food was unreal. The heat got into my knees in a way Drum Khandra never has. The people I met, Trev, Ray, even Knock, were doing their best with what they had. I was the Egypt. I went out there carrying 18 months of being left for Martin the Bloody Accountant, and I tried to spend it down at the bottom of a Leo bottle. It worked for 6 weeks. Then it didn't, and the bill came in. Bertie's at the door now, wanting his evening walk. So I'll wrap it up there. Take care of yourselves out there, lads. Don't be me. That was Brendan, Drum Khandra, Dublin, 56 years old, scaffolder retired, and as honest a fella as you'll ever meet about his own mistakes. We're grateful he came on. This is Thailand and told the story straight. A few things to take away. The TM30. That's the address registration form Brendan never had. Every foreigner in Thailand is supposed to have their address registered with immigration within 24 hours of arrival. And most landlords in tourist areas don't bother. It almost never matters. Until it does. Until you're sat in a station on Soi 9 with blood on your knuckles and they ask for it and you can't produce it. Compensation culture. Thai law often treats serious assault as something that can be made to go away through private settlement between the parties. That sounds civilized, and in some ways it is. What it means in practice is that if you put another tourist in the hospital, you are not facing a fixed fine and a slap on the wrist. You are facing whatever number the other side opens with, minus what your lawyer can negotiate down. For a working class fella with 40 grand in the bank, that number can be most of your future, the 5-year ban. Once a serious assault gets onto an immigration officer's desk, even if the criminal case has been settled and withdrawn, it can sit there as a separate problem. A different department, a different stamp, a different flight you don't get to take. Brendan's lawyer made the criminal case go away. She did not make the immigration record go away, regardless of what she said. That's not unusual. And tourist police. Don't let the friendly name fool anybody. Tourist police in Pattaya, in Phuket, in Bangkok are not your consulate. They are not your advocate. They are Thai police officers whose remit happens to cover places where tourists are. When the chips fall, they will follow Thai procedure with Thai counterparts on behalf of Thai bar owners and Thai paperwork, which is exactly as it should be. It's their country. The mistake is foreigners turning up and assuming otherwise. If you take one thing from Brendan's story, take this. Your pride is the most expensive thing in your luggage. Leave it at home. Whatever bar, whatever girl, whatever insult, whatever Russian fella with his hand where it shouldn't be, walk away. Every time. Whatever it costs you in the moment is a fraction of what it costs you the other way. That's it from us. If this story landed with you, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe so we can keep bringing them to you. Plenty more stories to come. As always, stay safe out there, look after yourselves, and look after each other. From all of us, this is Thailand. We'll see you next time.